Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Week 9 of LCK Summer 2020. I'm Atlas, joined by the Valdanalist. I know most of the regular seasons are over, but we're not. We've still got weeks to go, don't you worry. Plenty more LCK.
Yes, and of course, normally LS would be in this spot today, but unfortunately he's been a little sick. So I have stepped in, and you have stepped in, actually. You weren't supposed to come today.
I literally got here 10 minutes ago, I'm not going to lie.
I didn't step in anything. I was already here.
Yeah.
You're the one who is the hero today, coming in and filling in. We swapped roles real quick, just because this is what we're used to.
Swap the jackets and stuff like that. If I happen to do some weird analysis here and there and he's doing play-by-play, you know exactly why. It's because our brains are slightly melted. It's also extraordinarily hot today.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's pretty hot in here, too.
Yeah. The air conditioning not necessarily working out. It must be because the audience is here and, you know, so many warm... Wait a second.
No.
Never mind.
It's because I'm sitting next to you.
That might
must
be it.
Yeah.
Radiating a lot of heat at the moment, but that's okay. Let's get into the standings. Damwon are out in front here in first place with all of the points in the universe. Still the opportunity to get to that coveted plus 29 to equalize SKT from 2015. That is certainly an option for them. DRX hot on their heels, not necessarily in points, but definitely in match score. And today, we've got T1 and Gen.G vying for that third place. Both of them have secured playoffs. However, we don't know which order they're going to be in. And the further up the gauntlet T1 lands, the easier it is for them to auto-seed into Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, they get so many points from the spring victory that it really just, you know, even if they get like third, they're going to be in a good spot. So every single game matters, not just the set. So you got to win 2-0 as much as possible to try to get a higher seed and, you know, make it into Worlds just like that. And as you guys can see, those 4 teams did make it into playoffs already, but the seeds are not 100% set. So we'll have to wait and see, as here are our POG standings. BDD still on top.
Yep, BDD at 1,100 points. I think when it comes to POG winners, we've seen lower points than this. So BDD is pretty extraordinary at the moment. I think this is very similar to what he got in spring when he also won the POG. So BDD definitely doing a lot of work for Gen.G. Having a look at some of the pick and ban stats, as this is day 1. It's been a long time since I've been on a Thursday, so this came up and I'm like, what is this? This is normally when I'm sitting at home watching. This is not what I'm doing. But Volibear, definitely a very good champion at the moment. Caitlyn, however, 2-11.
Yeah.
And she's been priority picked the entire week of Week 8. It just has not been a good time for Caitlyn.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with that. Of course, it is 13 games that she has been played. As you can see, compared to the other top champions here, she gets banned the least. And still just not able to find any success, which is definitely weird because of, you know, how much we've been seeing this champion, how much it is being prioritized.
Yeah.
Whereas everything else here, by the way, has not lost a game. They're all 100% win rate. Volibear, Set, Karma, TF, all of them.
Yeah, it's all sort of the 10-14 picks that were still good and are now continuing to be so. Surprisingly, Twisted Fate among them, even after the nerf to his pick a card. This is going to be our first matchup. SANDBOX on our blue side starting out, and Gen.G going to be facing them. As points of the match, we'll be talking mostly about the fact that SANDBOX is struggling and Gen.G are looking for higher seeding in these playoffs. 2 desperate teams for different reasons. Not regions. These are the same region. Both of these teams are from Korea, even though one of them has a European coach.
Yes, and I want to draw your attention down to the bottom. I recently did join Sunday Night LCK here. Spoke a little Korean. It was the Korean show, and they asked me who's the most underrated player or team in the LCK, and I said Rascal because nobody really talks too much about Rascal, but he is so unbelievably solid, and he rarely dies. Like, this guy does not get solo killed at all. He's like the perfect top laner. He's not super aggressive. He's not very flashy, but he gets the job done so well. And he is a big reason why Gen.G are winning so much.
Yeah, it's so funny. When he was on Kingzone, he was sort of the Aurelia, Akali player who liked to go aggressive up there towards the top side, much like any iteration of Kingzone liked to do. I mean, this is a team with Khan on it, so if you're stepping into those shoes, you're going to be a bit aggressive. But then he goes and steps into Cuve's shoes, and he's turned into this, like, ultra-consistent, very, like, largely utility tank player at the moment. However, he can do everything, right? He just does what the team needs him to do.
He's been playing a lot of Renekton recently, by the way.
He does. He's been very outspoken with how much he enjoys Renekton, so I give him a bit more of a pass, because he's also been winning a few extra games on the Crocodile, so not so much of a handbag, more of that terrifying dinosaur predator that we like to think of Crocodiles as. Having a look at the stats, they're looking better over Gen.G's side. However, Herald percentage, SANDBOX getting around the map a little bit earlier on. And their win rate with a gold lead, Valdez. Hell yeah.
Yeah, they rarely lose when they do get ahead. And that is a lot of games where they have gotten ahead, by the way. 25 total.
On Gen.G's side, yeah.
Yeah. If you look at SANDBOX's side, it's only been 13 games, even though they also have a good win rate. It just hasn't happened as often because generally they are behind at the 15-minute mark in terms of gold. And also Gen.G had the first blood percentage of all of the LCK, which I found interesting. They've definitely changed their image as a team. You know, they used to be, old Samsung, sit back, don't do anything, we're going to win in 50 minutes. Now it's like, hey, we're actually aggressive and we like to get the ball rolling.
I actually really like it. It does demonstrate the evolution that the LCK has gone through between spring and summer. More aggression, more often. Cleared able to go back to his LPL roots. And excited to see whether they're going to do that again here today, because SANDBOX are ultimate sinners. They love picking for the early game. On Fleek loves to do the cheese. And we'll see whether he's going to flip correctly in the jungle this time around, as our matchup that we're going to highlight is going to be the mid lane, BDD, the king of the POG points, up against Fate, whose stats have sort of fallen off just a little bit since he came in as the starting mid laner over Dove, sort of middle of the season around when Yamato joined the roster, but he's still doing the most damage on his team, and the team does rely on Fate a lot. And up against BDD, it's going to be a tough call.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy matchup for him, that is for sure. He looked definitely very good when SANDBOX were on their winning streak, but also SANDBOX was facing a lot of the lower teams in the LCK while they were on that winning streak. So he had time to get comfortable, build up those stats, and now he's really being challenged by some of these really big, and LCK has some insane mid laners, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And BDD is one of them, so it's not going to be an easy task for Fate. We saw that his damage numbers are insanely high. Generally, it's him doing a ton of damage, but the rest of his team not really able to support him on that. Like, he hits the enemy champions a lot, but then, his team as a whole can't really follow through. So definitely an interesting matchup. We'll see how he does do going into game one, as there's Yamato.
Yep. Yamato standing behind SANDBOX in one of their biggest tests moving into the end of the season. It's going to be really rough. I mean, they have to try and finagle a win here in order to keep their playoff dreams alive. I think it's finagle.
It is finagle, but that sounded much cooler.
It's a fun angle.
It made it sound more difficult and more challenging, but also more interesting.
I mean, I got an Australian accent, so I think I just get a pass for half of the words in the dictionary, to be honest. We just say, oh, no, it's an Australian thing. That's
That's what I assumed, actually. Words. I was like, oh, must be, finagle must be the way that you guys say it over there.
I don't know. I think that it still just means a fun angle. As there's the Kalista ban up against Ruler, trying to deny some of that mid-game powers. Here we are into the ban and pick. For game number one, Volibear, an understandable ban after we did see those stats in the earlier graphic.
Yeah. See the ask about here, too. They're really focusing down Ruler. They're saying, well, you have a lot of strong players, but Ruler is really the one that has been popping off of recent times, so let's go ahead and ban everything that he likes to play. Like, pretty much, everything. And we'll see what they want to first pick off of this, too. I mean, you might just want to grab Caitlyn if it's available.
Let's go to 212.
If it gets banned, maybe you just have to go Aphelios, but Set is going to be taken down, and that's going to be the obvious choice for SANDBOX.
Well, we'll see whether it's a trap or not, as Gen.G can just lock bar Jhin if they want to. I don't know how much Jhin Ruler has been playing.
She puts down traps, that's why that was very punny, Atlas.
Well, it's what we do. As, wow, look at this.
Yeah. It's like we got two analysts up here now.
Yeah, 10 minutes of prep time. Don't you worry, we're in there. As, should be coming in. You don't really have to be a genius to know that this is coming in. as Life should be picking the Bard, but no, it's going to be Pantheon. We're going more aggressive on the bottom side, theoretically, unless we're going to be flexing the Pantheon around, but I wouldn't expect so.
Yeah, I mean, it does maintain a little bit of that flex potency, but as you're mentioning, it's pretty much just a support pick nowadays. And Jin, they also asked me this on the show. They were like, why do you think Jin? What do you think about Jin? Why is he getting picked so much? And he's just really good in the lane, and he handles range really well. So that's why, because lane is so important right now for the game, for AD carry and support. So you don't want to get too far behind in the lane, and Jin is really good at countering, in a sense, up against Caitlyn and surviving in that lane and doing well. So it is very often picked as a response, and does have a winning rate so far. It's 3-1. Not too many games so far, though.
Yep, definitely winning out as far as the comparison to Caitlyn is concerned. I'll give you that much. As BDD's Azir thinking about being picked away here by SANDBOX, but no. BDD's Zoe instead. I know I'm saying BDD's. Fate is going to be playing them, but BDD certainly phenomenal Zoe player and probably our best Azir player.
All of the mid champions are owned by BDD, and he just loans them out to the other mid laners.
He's the POG winner. That's what happens. You know, if you got all of those POG points, they must have come from somewhere. And it might have been the Zoe and the Azir mostly. As here is a Nidalee. We're going for a lot of range, Valve Analyst. Might be a poke comp coming together on Gen.G's side.
Yeah, that's the thing about Pantheon you don't really think about, especially in the lane. He does actually offer a nice amount of poke, but as the game comes along, obviously he loses some of that potential, but there's a little bit there. And certainly they've got 3 champions that can do that, and it's all about the range here in this game outside of Thomas. As Lee Sin is going to be taken off the board, they're going to try to ban 2 junglers most likely.
Yep. I didn't mention the fact that Tahm Kench was picked up, but guys, if you're looking at the Tahm Kench and wondering what the heck it's still doing here, it's because Gorilla exists on SANDBOX. His Tahm Kench is actually fantastic. Always has been. It's why we sort of allow him to pick up Sir Thomas. He's Timothy Kenchins for everyone else,
pretty
but
much,
when Gorilla's on him, he's Sir Thomas.
Life wasn't so bad on the Thomas Kenchins either. He's played 4 games of it, and they're actually not going to ban a second jungler here. They're going to take away Jace and say, well, we don't want Summit to have too much control up in the top side with that pick, with the Renekton also being banned away from Rascal. So there you go.
Twisted Fate taken away from BDD here also, but I think they would have picked that if they wanted it. But still, better to be safe than sorry, as Yuumi being considered. This will put Pantheon in a lane if they do lock this one away. And will also make Jin the most speedy ever.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't have minded it, you know.
Ooh, that's
throw Pantheon into mid to handle the Zoe, but instead it is going to be... Well, I suppose the Gragas could also be in the bottom side, right? We have a little bit of a double flex going on. Either it's the support role, or it's going into top lane, you would imagine.
Nah, don't worry, Nidalee support.
Nidalee's, ooh.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're prowling around the
Gragas mid.
Yeah.
How about that? Let's throw him mid.
On jungle. Jin top lane. Perfect. As the Olaf is the most obvious thing in the universe, this is, of course, on fleek, and his Lee Sin's banned away. So Olaf, no-brainer. What are they going to pair it with, though, is going to be the question. Is Ornn being considered? This will be the most standard front-to-back comp you can possibly go with the Olaf maybe looking a little bit out of place, as Alawi would definitely work into the Ornn. We've seen this so many times before. Thank you, Ixu, for giving us all of that Alawi practice. But this would be an old counter that Rascal's thinking about.
Yeah, and both of these hovers make me think that Zoe's going to have an annoying lane to deal with. It's either going to be big shield guy or big belly guy. It's going to be going up against her.
No, not belly guy.
You would have to imagine, unless they're just going to throw Sylas into the mid lane, which I'm it's not great against Zoe, and it's awesome against Ornn, so...
I mean, the argument for the Gragas going support is because it's Life's Gragas, right? And Life was our best support Gragas in seasons past. It was always Cuz in the jungle and Life at support. So they are going to go for that one, as you can see. Certainly has some great setup options. You know, you get the slow and the tag, and then Ruler can stun them up there on the bottom side. So certainly going to be working as far as CCing their opposition, and Silas into Ornn is an old one. We'll see how Gen.G's comp is going to go. It's an eclectic bunch of champions, as Pantheon hasn't made an appearance in the mid lane for a really long time. BDD pretty happy with it. Yeah, I'm glad we mentioned all the flex potency out of that pick. And it is going to be pretty nice into the mid lane. It can counter the portal jump. It can block a lot of stuff, obviously, with its shield. So don't mind it at all here. Taking a look at this comp, I think they're definitely putting in some eggs. Putting some eggs into the basket of Root here, who hasn't been having too great of a time as of late, but they've also got Fate on his Zoe. Whereas over here, this is going to be very aggressive. Yeah. Out of Gen.G, they are not holding anything back. And normally when you see a physical damage mid laner, you're like, oh no, they're not going to have enough magic damage. But then they pair it with Gragas, Nidalee in the jungle, and then Silas. They've got probably too much magic damage, actually, as all the dust settles. So definitely an aggressive comp coming out of Gen.G, and a super stable one out of SANDBOX. They just want to poke them down a little bit with some paddle stars, get some cheeky autos in from the Caitlyn, keep everyone alive with the Tahm Kench, and then Summit can start a fight whenever he wants to. As SANDBOX, and then Olaf. Yeah, they're going to group as 5 bottom lane. Yeah, and then Olaf, but it's on Fleek, so I guess you understand exactly why. Yeah, it's, again, we give another pass, but definitely some comfort picks for on Fleek and Gorilla. Yep, we're just having a little dance party here in the bush. Yeah, we're just falling over and things like that. It's all right. Dragonfly's hanging around. But as you can see, nothing too much going to happen. Hopefully there's not going to be any wandering into the enemy jungle and dying like we saw a couple of days ago. In fact, last week. Wasn't a couple of days ago. Yeah, like it. Feels like it. Our weekends are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yep. Actually. So we get an extra one, though. It's like we get long weekends for the whole second round. It's actually kind of cool. It's true. We just tack on an extra week. Instead of 9 weeks, we get 10. Yeah. I like it a little bit more. Especially this time around where we didn't have super weeks forever with the triple best of 3s cast from our bedrooms. This is, I'm enjoying this much more, not going to lie. I'm happy we're over that time. That was a little bit annoying. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this season is going to end up. There's been a lot of strong teams up at the top side and then a lot of weak teams down at the bottom side. A lot of people were buying into the Yamato/Tomato hope. Some of that tomato magic. Yeah, the magic. And they have struggled in a couple of their last games, especially up against some of the stronger teams. We'll have to see if they can put up a challenge here up against Gen.G, because Gen.G are just looking really good right now. The thing that I'm sort of happy about when it comes to SANDBOX is what they're building, not necessarily what they've built now. I feel like they are putting in a lot of work in shoring up their communication and how this team's supposed to work, and I think that Yamato certainly has been a good test for that. I just think, unfortunately, it came a little bit too late this season. But with the virus, everything like that, it's certainly been difficult to get everything together, and SANDBOX have managed to do it. So even though it is a little bit late, these are trying times, and you can understand exactly why there's been a delay, as Rascal's down to 100 health. Just showing some of the early laning prowess of this Ornn, as Summit is thinking about diving him. That's a solo queue thing where you're just taunting the enemy laner by doing the stutter step. I'm a big fan of that one. It's always a tilting move when you go up against it. Yep. The mind games. I love the non-verbal trolling, actually. Yeah. Or even, you know, you don't even have to throw out an emote. You can just, you can dance, you can laugh, you can stutter step like he did. Yep. Rascal just trying to Kingslayer his way around. Probably didn't want to have ducked that particular minion, but does get the CS. So that's good news. 0-2 Root, last week's Caitlyn performances. He doesn't need to feel too bad. Caitlyn did terribly on every team. So yeah, and the stat we had show up on screen was that 2 players played it 1-1, and one was 1-2, which don't encapsulate all of the games of Caitlyn, in case you guys were wondering. We did have 13 games. She's 2-11. So not feeling too good. That is going to be BDD copping a lot of damage. Puts up the shield a little bit too late, as he'd just recently teleported back. So Fate with the heal, doesn't want to get burst down by any sort of cheeky ganks or anything like that with Clid coming in. Of course, Pantheon Nidalee, a terrifying combination of champions, so you want to be defensive with your choices.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
They push mid lane. There's no vision of this. They're trying to jump on Fleet. Here we go.
There it is. There's the stun, and this is exactly the combo that we were talking about. Smite comes down. BDD trying to stay in there as life is... Oh, the spear, not quite enough. Grazed his bottom there just a little bit as he walks away. And no first blood just yet. Now Ruler taking a little bit of poke in this lane, but you can see Jin's lane control just real scary with the dancing grenades. It just means that you're always contending with Jin and a minion wave, which is why life has so much positional advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. It's part of the reason why we do see the Jin into this lane very often. And that was rough for Clid. He was just a couple pixels away from landing that spear and picking up first blood for both spears, actually. The one that was looking to engage and missed, and the one that missed under turret after the flash. So a little bit unfortunate. It was a nice setup by Gen.G, but they're going to be denied that play. Yep. Still, you can see the potential of the Pantheon, right? You can push very fast and then try to roam, especially after level 6.
They didn't get punished for it, though, really, right? Like, BDD was able to shove out the wave. Ruler was there. It wasn't like he was getting zoned or anything like that. So Gen.G demonstrating why their comp is so powerful in the early game, right? Like, they can afford to leave lane and just do what they want, as Ruler might need to stand back a little bit. There's the heal after the exhaust. Great double knockback with the body slam from life, but now there's no longer the aftershock, and he's running. Gorilla gets hungry, but not hungry enough as the Peacemaker is not going to land here today. We're probably going to have a bit of a back as OnFleek has started off the Drake with all of that control of the bottom lane that they have now managed to pick up.
Yeah, also the Zoe pushing in mid. They're just going to easily take that one down. It's Infernal, which is going to be really nice for the Zoe and the Caitlyn in particular. And you can see how they opened up that fight too. Ruler stepped about a couple inches too close to the minion wave, got, you know, in a place to get licked, essentially. Yeah. And they were just able to follow up from there and trade a couple of summoners and take back some of the control in the lane. So definitely a good look up against the Gen.G bottom lane, which is absolutely very strong.
Certainly has been performing better and better as the season's gone on as well. I've really been impressed by Ruler, as Rascal does find himself a little bit of an abduct onto Summit. Grabs himself a goat of his own, but isn't going to be able to throw it out the ram just yet.
You can see that early on. Actually, Rascal did get pretty far behind, and he kept on getting pushed in. That's generally what's going to happen early on in the levels, because Horn, his base stats and the numbers on his abilities are very good. But eventually, Rascal, once he gets some items, is going to do very well in that lane, and so far is not too far behind, even though that early game can be a little bit of a pain for the Sylas. He's now going to start pushing in that Ornn up in the top side.
Yeah. See how it does develop as the game goes on. Of course, Abyssal Mask is such a great buy for Summit just in general, so you're going to be pretty happy. But as you can see, like you're talking about, the lane is getting more difficult. But with priority, it means that this Rift Herald might be an option for Gen.G, as it is just about to spawn. Clid is over in the area as well. Gen.G with a slight gold advantage, but no first bloods just yet. And they do have a very aggressive comp, if you guys remember. That means that they want to be getting more done in this early game. As we've got a bit of a roam up from the Gragas.
Yeah. You can see they're taking it pretty slow. They want to pull Shelly over to their side of the river, essentially, near the opening. As Fate is pretty low on mana, but he just picked up blue buff, so here we go.
Yeah, that is going to be the counterfeit ram, but gets the Ragnarok out of the Olaf, as now the real GOAT comes back. As BDD's going to get knocked up, no time to put up a shield, as they will just have the Herald stolen away from them, and Flash has to be used by Rascal to get himself out. This is just highway robbery by SANDBOX, first blood and the Herald.
Yeah, little bit of an Ornn difference there in that one. The ram out of Rascal was totally just off the mark, and the one out of Summit was literally perfect. Caught all three of them in both sides. I suppose he only got the knock up on BDD though, but either way, that was enough to open it up. already did a ton of damage with Shelly helping out with a nice little swipe. And Gen.G immediately began to realize, hey, we're really out of position. And those 3 champions also not exactly the most tanky, so not able to sustain there in that fight very well. And that's a really nice play for SANDBOX to turn that one around. They get the first blood, the Rift Herald, and immediately momentum goes to their side with the better late game team obviously going to be feeling good right now.
Yeah, and Summit is just terrifying on this on. He's very, very strong. And we were talking about this lane sort of moving back into Silas's area, but now they've recognized it and they're looking to try and punish Summit, who flashes away immediately. And that's a good stun there on the bottom side, but looks like SANDBOX are trying to turn this one around as well. Another Tongue Lash coming out as half the health bar onto Root, but Ruler as well, getting chunked. Aftershock working out for life, so just a little bit of biffo, but otherwise not too much.
Yeah. Neither support going for Unsealed Spellbook, so they're going to have some great battle runes, essentially, and certainly is helping out as Onplate comes down, helps push the lane. Looks like Caitlyn is going to go back and buy. We'll see if she has enough for Infinity Edge. Here's another look at the fight. You see that they're going to take, so here, they send it in first, and it's an on Olaf. And then so much damage is going to come down and knock up BDD here, and everybody on the side of SANDBOX immediately collapses onto them. Even Gorilla gets there just one step ahead of life, so they're just able to knock down BDD.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake by BDD as well. You'd expect him to be able to put up the shield a little bit before getting that knock-up, understanding that where the damage is likely to be coming from, but wasn't actually able to. Might have been on cooldown from previously. Of course, has quite a long cooldown in the early stage, but did certainly look a little bit unfortunate there for the Pog Master himself. And now we've moved towards about an 800 gold lead that's only going to be extended here with Shelly in the mid lane as Clid might have found Gorilla, but misses another spear. Fate's going to be stunned. That's a very close. I was expecting that one to land, actually, as Shelly's going to have her eye poked. Still a couple of plates remaining on that outer turret in mid lane, but as you can see, 1,200 gold going to be the lead. Maybe a fight. A brewing here in the mid lane. 4 members of SANDBOX lying in wait. And the poke from the Zoe's working out. Fate really is doing a lot of work in this game so far, keeping BDD down, making sure there's always pressure for SANDBOX in the mid lane. That feels bad.
Yeah, BDD's already behind in this lane, and missing cannons is not going to help out that case, as there is not much priority down here in the river for Gen.G. They may just have to give another dragon over to the Olaf comp, which is generally what happens, but here they come, actually, over the wall.
Yep. Gorilla going to get speared, but he was coming up for a lick anyway. Not too worried. Undertow's good out of on fleek. They're just trying to get the shove to make sure that they can control the river. Ruler with a big bullet in the chamber, but nothing to really use it on, apart from that ward. Gen.G will leave 1 ward, which is certainly not going to make them very happy. Rascal,
yeah,
with Call of the Forge God available, hijacked. Looks like Gen.G are going to try and steal this one away. Zoe was on a reset, and we do have the man drop just coming back off cooldown. Gen.G do manage to grab this as Cloud Soul this game. Bit of a feels bad, but it's all right. Going to have a lot of movement speed, and if you've got Jin, definitely a fan of that.
And it's...
Oh, that's a barrel. They're looking for Gorilla. Great body slam comes out, and the layering of CC is pretty powerful, but Life just getting chunked as Root somehow gets tagged by that spear. How does he miss so many and then lands that one, weaving through the minion wave? Pretty incredible, but still not really going to be able to profit from it. As they tried to throw everything into Gorilla, and Root just free hitting. Almost manages to get the life of Life. Oh god, didn't mean that.
Yeah.
Good job.
It was, yeah, it wasn't the biggest deal that they let the Ocean Drake go, but it would have been nice to stack up the Drakes for your comp. I mean, you have the Olaf, who should have the priority, but either way, they just give that one away. You notice that Fate took heal in this game. He doesn't have Unsealed Spellbook or anything, so he just went straight heal. And no TP, no Ignite, trying to win the lane. It's definitely a bit of an uncommon choice. And I suppose it will certainly help him if he's trying to get burst down by something like the Pantheon Nidalee, but hasn't been too relevant in this game so far, but either way, he went back, and Pantheon was easily able to get there with his teleport, so they knew they were behind on players, so SANDBOX just let it go. With the Cloud Drake coming in here, as you mentioned, not going to be the biggest steal that they let that one go, as we've kind of stabilized here in the mid lane, or the mid game, I suppose.
Yep.
As we're kind of just hanging out now.
I think Cloud Soul's really interesting for this comp. I actually kind of like getting all of that extra movement speed after your ulti for Jhin, because Jhin likes to stand millions of miles away from the fight. But if you get that uber burst of movement speed, then you can catch up and actually get some relevant damage down with some autos.
He's already so fast. He's going to be sprinting at the fight.
Yeah.
I like it.
I also like how Boots of Swiftness scale with percentage movement speed as well, because they have added flat, so I don't know. Could be something worth thinking about. Plus, they've got a few ultimates that you just want to throw around, such as the Cask, and of course, Ruler's Curtain Call. More of those you get down, definitely the better. Guardian going to stop Root from taking any damage whatsoever, he's got an eclectic collection of items. Whoa. Going to be going rapid fire cannon.
Collection.
I know, I don't know why I'm going for every tongue twist.
Got all the words today. I don't know what's going on. Well, we're going to need the words because we don't have a lot of action in this game. Ruler was just pushing bottom lane by himself, as here we go.
Yeah, that spear going to miss as well. So Fate going to survive, but the Paddle Star misses. No turnaround opportunity as Root's going to turn up. And OnFleek's fighting Rascal. Rascal winning out on the health trade. Okay, Bubble not going to connect. And OnFleek threw away a lot of his health bar, but at least got rid of Rascal there, who's now got the hijack on cooldown. And that is second Herald also going to be picked up by SANDBOX.
Yeah, definitely a lot of tempo being earned here by SANDBOX, even though Gen.G tried to open up that fight. They had to back away, and yes, Ruler's getting a lot of solo XP down here in the bottom side, but they really have to punch through here in the mid game. Gen.G do. They have to get there before Caitlyn starts coming out of her power trough and before Fate starts one-shotting a lot of these squishy members on the side of Gen.G in the later stages of the game. So I'm curious to see how they're going to try to make that work. It looks like for now, trying to get some vision and potentially get aggressive here in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, it looks like Ruler is going to be parked in the mid lane. Keep those minion waves in check. A little bit of a play towards the top side here as there's a lot of vision from Gen.G. Summit. He might be a little bit too tanky for these guys as the spear is going to connect. That's the pounce as the flash does come out. So a lot of respect given. As Skirmishers sort of helping out there for that extra damage. Looks like BDD and Cleared should be able to get some work done here on the outer turret top lane. Gen.G might be able to get towards some sort of advantage unless they lose the bottom lane outer turret, which might actually happen given the Rift Herald advantage that SANDBOX does have. That's going to be the trade turret for turret. 800 gold now in it. Favor of SANDBOX, my god.
Hello.
Welcome to the game, mid-game, Zoe. It's scary.
She just picked up her Ludens, and already you can see no MR. Not much defensive stats there on the side of Rascal, so he just gets bopped. As Glid is in an awkward spot here.
Yep, just pouncing where he can. Bubble not going to connect. As Life taking some reckless swings here from OnFleek, but is going to miss. As Teleport comes in from the top lane, full minion wave is going to go begging, as now we're fighting around a Cloud Drake. Everyone pretty excited about collecting this one by the looks of things. Double teleports coming forward. Drake being taken down to about a third. Now, let's see who's got the best ramp. There's the engage from the Gragas. He's thrown away his life, but the Olaf is now out of it. Gorilla also having to flash. Kingslayer is massive from Rascal to keep him alive as there's the stun, and Gen.G may have just found their team fight. Fate still alive, but he's flashing around this one. Deadly Flourish not going to connect as Summit now in trouble. Curtain Call comes in. Root tagged immediately, but missed by the second one, and Gen.G now trying to corral them. Rascal getting in there. The abduct's fantastic. He's just latched onto the Caitlyn and taken her out of the fight. Is now Summit also going to go a double kill for BDD, and Fate's on the wrong side of the map. There we go. Spear's going to miss once again. Not the greatest day for Quid, not going to lie. As Deadly Flourish, that's going to grab it.
Man, what a team fight by Gen.G. I was like, why are they forcing this fight over this first Cloud Drake? You have a massive wave up in the top side. Why are you doing this? Well, if you're going to win that hard, I guess I don't deserve to question it too much, right?
Yeah.
Just looking at the results, I suppose. But you can see here, the Ornn ultimate stolen, a great engage. They get Caitlyn immediately right into the front. Has to be devoured, putting out 0 damage. Zoe totally zoned the entire time. Battlestar's doing nothing. BDD getting so much value with his man drop, and just like that, I mean, the engage was opened up by Gen.G very confidently, and they knew they had the power here in this mid-game before Root was really coming online, and that was all it really took. The 2 members going down. Really great follow-up engage here from Rascal, just to lock it down, and it's a full ace by Gen.G. This isn't just like, oh, we got 1 person and took Cloud Drake. This is like, we totally flipped the game on its head, and now we are in the driver's seat. As you can see, they have taken the gold lead here, and this is exactly what you want out of a comp like what they're piloting.
And they've saved BDD, basically. Like, BDD is on the Pantheon, doesn't necessarily scale into late game very effectively, but now he's 3-1-2. This Panth is gigantic all of a sudden, as they have about a 600 gold lead, but he's now ahead in the lane that he was really struggling in up against Fate. No flash on this Zoe either, who will need to be a little bit careful here this game, at least for the next few minutes. All right, Cliff just going to jump right into an axe as have Ace in the Hole come down, and Life is going to block it there for Clid. Another spear going to land. When will they start connecting, Clid? That's my question. As Rascal here split pushing towards the bottom side. And it seems like no one on SANDBOX is going to stop him.
Yeah.
We do have Summit at least backing. Still a lot of damage there to the inner turret. What's the defensive vision around this Baron that's only been alive for about a minute?
Yeah, just taking a look at the items here, the Caitlyn going for the Storm Major. She's going to take a very long time to come online. We've still got a good 10 minutes before she's really outputting damage, maybe even longer. You can see that they've really had to mix up their resistances too, as that's a massive hit from the side of Fate, who is 4 levels above the support Gragas. But yeah, they've really had to mix in MR and armor against this comp. We talked about how much magic damage they have, but also the lethality Pantheon. If you're not building any armor, you're just going to get ripped to shreds. Yeah. Alongside of Jhin, obviously, who's going to be doing the majority of the sustained physical damage. So a little bit annoying for the itemization for SANDBOX is Root. Thought maybe they wanted to engage on that one, but not just yet.
Potentially, Bubble going to connect there as now OnFleek is after Clid. There's the Ornn. It's going to find the Jhin as Ace in the Hole does connect. Rascal does have a ram of his own, but it's Clid that goes down to the north. While I was talking about the mid lane, as there's the man drop for the escape. And now Life is he's just taking a hillbilly stroll towards the enemy base, as that paddle star was pretty incredible from Fate, to be perfectly honest. But with this inner turret dead, there's a chance that Life can make it out of here, as the barrel's going to come in. I don't believe Ragnarok's available, and yep, Life just wanders his way out.
Yeah, they're like, this is just too annoying. I mean, we don't really need to chase this Gragas all the way through. But you mentioned Clid on his spears. He hasn't been having the most fun in this game, that's for sure. He gets hit by a straight-up Trouble Bubble. And even though the Battlestar follow-up did totally miss, the Nidalee is extremely squishy in this game. Didn't even go for the Rod of Ages this time around, went straight for the Athenes, going very supportive in this one. Has a lot of damage, of course, from the rest of her team, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, if she gets hit by anything, they can just dogpile and get in there and kill that Nidalee very quickly, as they did that time around. Also was a little bit of an awkward trade in mid lane, as Jhin not able to really dash away from an Ornn. So I think that Summit is really going to be important for these team fights in the future, for opening up space for the Caitlyn to do damage, but also trying to deny Ruler from doing much.
Speaking of which, Gorilla lands a tongue lash onto the gentleman in question. 700 goals the lead here for Gen.G, so it's really not a lot. And when ornaments are starting to come in, Molten Edge, fantastic for Caitlyn. I mean, her just damage scaling, her item scaling is so huge that getting extra stats on her is just crazy, right? So will be great for Root as this game moves on. We've seen a bit of this overseas as well. A lot of Orns being picked alongside the Caitlyn is see whether we are going to get the hijack. Rascal can try and walk up to Summit and steal that one away, as it is going to be 2 Drakes apiece, but there's the man drop. Big damage there from BDD as Root's over the wall, using the massive range to a huge advantage, and BDD's just going to get chunked. Has to go golden, and on Fleek trying to get in there. That's a great heal though, and BDD is going to stay alive. Bubble connects onto the Gragas, but not looking like there's too much follow-up as Ace in the Hole lands onto Ruler, who blocks for his support. Fate still looking to try and corral them though, as a back will come in. BDD does have the teleport to get back into the fight. Blast Cone utilized, as now we've got a teleport flank. Deadly Flourish comes down as BDD may have just thrown his life away. Flashes backwards, tries to use the shield, but they'll take him down. And now even more damage piled onto Rascal, but he gets the abduct, lands it onto him. To Summit, but he's so damn tanky. Ruler picks up the kill onto the Caitlyn, though Clid is flashing forward. Ruler a little bit further away from this fight as double kill comes in, as finally Nidalee is online. Just pouncing on top. If you can't land a spear, just go into cat form and rip them to shreds, I guess is going to be the answer. As Rascal dies to a turret for some reason. And the Flourish comes in again. And that is a very dead Zoe. And that's going to be an unofficial quadra kill for the Nidalee.
Should have given that one to Ruler. The guy had so much room in that fight. It was such an extended, I mean, this was a dirty one, okay? This is not a clean engage by any means, as everything was flying everywhere, right? Like, we're getting into the backline for Gen.G that's really easy for their comp, but notice how SANDBOX very intelligently, they kite upwards, and they use the ridge as like a way to just say, okay, you guys want to get into our backline, you want to get on top of Zoe, Caitlyn, but we're not going to let you. And that makes it very difficult for Gen.G to follow up engage, which is why we get this whole song and a dance. And it's like, okay, BDD, what are you doing when he hops in here? Very confusing, as the rest of his team is very far away. But what this actually does is it allows Ruler to get a lot of space, as there was so much attention taken off of him. Rascal, incredibly tanky, but Ruler immediately snipes down Root. And that was really the changing point, the turning point in this one, as it's a very skirmish-loving comp. I mean, Nidalee, Silas. It's, you know, you got Pantheon, even Jin in an extended fight. Yeah, he gets bubbled here, so it's definitely fun times for Gen.G once it gets into this bit of a crazy fight like it did. But for a moment there, SANDBOX, I really liked their maneuvering, and they were nearly able to still take that one out. Now, they're not too far behind. They also picked up the Cloud Drake, which is pretty nice. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but if they can extend the game another 10 minutes, I mean, there's still definitely a chance that SANDBOX can push away from the aggression of Gen.G and just outscale them.
The thing I'm scared about is that Jin doesn't have any scaling issues as a champion. You know, this guy scales on like a million stats at the same time. It's just insane. But he's not hindered whatsoever, right? He is just huge, and might be the factor that Gen.G need in order to get to that late game a little bit more unscathed, especially with the fact that he can be built up with that Primal Surge coming out from the Nidalee, the extra healing available from his more supportive build as well. And I just need to shout out Life, man. Like, this guy's Gragas peel is just so strong.
Yeah.
This body slams whenever Ruler needs it, and makes sure that the Jin is as safe as possible. It's certainly a look back at vintage Life with his Gragas support that was so good in seasons past.
It's more of like a Alistar that has a little bit less, you know, hard engage potential. It's definitely a lot of finesse if you're going to try to hard engage as Gragas in the way that Alistar could, but definitely
more damage.
More damage and a little bit more defensive capability with all the body slams and all that good stuff. And Life knows his job is to keep Ruler alive, as you mentioned. You know, they do have that Jin for insane scaling themselves, and it really is going to have to be the Ruler show if this game does go into the later stages, which it does look like we are slowly but surely making our way down that path as we're nearly at the 30-minute mark.
Whoa, that's an extra zeal on Ruler. This guy is massive. Root doesn't even have his Infinity Edge yet. This Caitlyn is doing half the damage of the Jhin right now.
Yeah.
Ruler just massive with a whole bunch of crit built up also.
And we did have Morelos picked up here by Zoe. I don't mind it too much in this game because of the Sylas healing mid-fight, and also the Nidalee is going to be, spamming her heals off cooldown in the fight at the same time, so it's not like it's healing that they would mostly do outside of combat.
Yep.
As we're taking a look here at the damage percentages, once again, Fate is just trying to carry his team in terms of damage, and it's the Ruler show on the side of Gen.G.
Good to see there's no surprises when we have a look at those damage numbers. 3,000 gold the lead here as Nidalee just steals away that dragon for free. Soul point provided over to Gen.G.
Yeah, it was a little bit confusing as to why they just let that one go, but maybe they're just saying, well, it's only one singular Cloud Drake, it's not going to give them the soul just yet. Let us continue to try to get Ornn items, get Caitlyn her Infinity Edge at least before we fight. As you've been mentioning, that is an extremely important item that she still hasn't picked up yet. And they're definitely going to want that one before we do get into any big engagements.
Yeah, it's sort of overseas we've seen sort of the rise of Infinity Edge Stormrazor for the very clean sort of 2-item power spike that helps move your damage forward. I know Freak is very outspoken with the way that, oh wow, Clid misses the Gromp, but does manage to nail one.
All planned.
Yeah, it's perfect. But yeah, so Freak's been outspoken saying that like the more BF swords you can buy, the better the scaling is for Caitlyn. And I tend to agree. I think that when you have Zeal items, it feels a little bit worse. But now the Molten Edge is in, so regardless of how many Zeals you got, still going to be doing a lot of damage there on Root's side, who's going to pick up the blue buff for himself, as that's going to be a phenomenal ultimate coming out from Rascal, making up for that last one as Gorilla going to be taken down. The Catfish well and truly dead. There's now BDD's shield working out very nicely as now they've reformed the Phalanx. That's going to be the stun coming out from the Jhin, that massive range working out for them. As Rascal going to change position with the Skond. And Gen.G having taken down the Tahm Kench. Thinking about what they can position for here objective-wise. That's a teleport forward from a Summit that does have all of his health back.
He's a very speedy boy, too. Here's the teleport coming in from Rascal. Gonna be spotted. I don't think they'll be able to catch up to him, though.
Not quite level 16 yet, but does have the hijack back off cooldown again. Won't be able to take the Call of the Forge God, but any of these other ultimates are going to be available. Maybe a Ragnarok feeling like a good idea. As Abyssal Voyage comes in from Gorilla to reposition him, and now it's going to be 5v5 as Rascal getting chunked. Kingslayer comes in, but that's a fantastic Zhonya as the barrel goes completely wide as Root does take down the Sylas. Now it's 5v4. Summit frontlining beautifully. Life is dead. Ruler trying to kite this one out. He's so damn fast, but Root is chunking everyone with his new Molten Edge. This is what happens when you hit the item timings, and my god, finally Root's actually doing some work. Curtain Call comes in, but doesn't really do anything as this Baron's taken down to about half health. BDD going to be spotted on this ward. And Bubble flies forward, doesn't land onto Ruler.
An angle.
I don't think that we're going to be able to get a steal here, Valdez.
Doesn't look like the BDD going to throw out a spear. It's not going to happen as we have officially entered the later stages of the game. You mentioned the Molten Edge, and it starts off really nicely here for Gen.G. This is a perfect cask. Gets the Catfish in, and look at that last shot from the ultimate of Jhin. Is insane the amount of damage that did onto the Catfish. And everything looked pretty good for Gen.G here, but notice how SANDBOX officially, they're able to easily disengage. And then this engage out of Gen.G was very sloppy. Rascal goes in, has to stopwatch. And then look at the lack of follow-up. Root has so much room on the right side. And once again, he's using this ridge to say, you can't get near me. Fight was pretty much over by that time anyway, but still able to take out one member. As everybody's happy here in the booth. I think a lot of people in that booth. It's like 5 coaches.
So like the huge smile on Joker's face, and then Yamato's in the back like, yes, but I'm still not happy yet. course, this game isn't over yet. There is 800 gold in it, and yes, SANDBOX do have a Baron. They will be able to continue to boost this power play, especially with the outer turret being on the top side. BDD did push out that wave, so it's going to take a little bit of time to get the minions towards it, but that looks like sitting gold as well as the inner turret on the bottom side of the map as well. So look to see SANDBOX get themselves a bit of a lead off the back of this.
Yeah.
Static shift completed by Ruler, as well as the last Whisper. I feel like he had a lot of gold in that last fight. Still hasn't died.
He absolutely did, and he was able to do about 0 effective damage just because of the way that the engage happened and the awkward positioning from his team. This is going to turn into the battle of the 80 carries plus Zoe, who has a really nice hat amongst a lot of skirmishy dudes and dudettes on both sides, but more of them on the side of Gen.G, who are not going to really love this later stage of the game. As here we go, we're going to be fighting over this Cloud Drake, it seems.
Have as many elemental Drakes as possible this game. 3 apiece now. That second Cloud for SANDBOX is going to be taken. 4 turrets to 0 still in favor of Gen.G, but they've lost the gold lead. As now it looks like the positional advantage going to be there for SANDBOX. There's a lot of different backs here as everyone's playing chicken with everyone and everyone's driving off the road. It's like they both tried to veer off at the same time, but went the same way and sort of crashed into each other.
I hate when it happens.
Yeah, no, it's not how you play chicken. If that happened in Footloose, it would have been a much shorter movie. That's a very old reference, Max. Probably shouldn't be making that one. Great movie, though. Definitely worth the watch. Sometimes you got to like peer into history, you know, to understand, you know, where we came from, to understand more where we are, you know.
History repeats itself, so
it does tend to.
We're gonna have a Footloose remake.
I mean, there already has been a Footloose.
It's gonna be the remake of the remake. It's just gonna be another movie that's made just like it, basically.
Is it gonna be as scary as this one? As that's the Devour to come in. Life misses another cast, though. As now he's trying to get on top of Root. Curtain Call comes in, but they're just going to block for the Caitlyn, and that's all they need to do. Life surviving for the minute, but not for long as On Fleet comes around, puts an axe into the back of his head. Is now cleared from the side. Big AoE damage here as the Deadly Flourish. Ruler is completely untouched. This Dancing Grenade could murder everyone as the first kill comes. And it's on to the Ornn, also another Devour. Root's still very healthy as the Silas falls down. And it's 80 carry versus 80 carry, my god! Each shot doing about 1 trillion damage, and that's not an exaggeration. Root's going to back away, and it's a stalemate. If they're both alive, it's so scary. But still, it's a one fight for SANDBOX, 2-3.
Yeah, look at this Jindo. I mean, Ruler's trying to put the team on his back right now. As Gorilla certainly doing his job. If they didn't have a Tom Kent, this Caitlyn would be a much sadder 80 carry. As does have a lot of lifesteal, nearly able to heal to full off a life there. As desperate engages coming from Gen.G, and you're thinking, oh, this isn't looking so great. Italy's really behind the play, but you're able to get enough pressure in the backside as Ruler snipes another one there. Misclicks, actually. I think he meant to click on Root, but clicked to Gorilla. Didn't end up mattering because he still gets a double kill and he's at full health anyway. And one shot to Root, and Root is like, never mind. I'm going home.
Yeah.
I will see you in the next game.
The Tom Kench is dead. Now I can't walk forward in case Ruler is in range to auto-attack. If Ruler is in range to auto-attack Root as a 4th bullet, his entire health bar evaporates. But now, he's got a Bloodthirster. There's a Lord Dominic's regard on Ruler. Like, this guy has maximum damage and doesn't care who he's shooting. As Onfleek's got a lot of health, that's why Lord Dominic is going to work. As the red buff is stolen away, Root's going to claim that. But yeah, this is 100% Battle of the 80 carries. Another Zeal completed.
Hey, what are you doing?
Fate is dead. Another party cast from Life. Oh no, it's a disaster, and Fate actually going to survive. The Nidalee's dead, the Gragas is too. Ruler is still alive, thank goodness for him. As now he's getting enclosed by both Gorilla and Summit. All right, Captive Audience comes in. Root's flashing over, though, and that is a very dead Jhin, and that may have just been the throw here by Gen.G. BDD off to the side, but maybe he's just throwing his life away for the colony as well, as another Ornn comes out from Rascal. He's trying to peel for the Pantheon, but he just can't. And now he realizes that I think his job is going to be trying to clean up minion waves that he just cannot. This game should be over.
I think so. I think they're just going to push down the mid lane and take it away as Fate playing the 5D chess in front of all of us, saying, you know what would work here is if we bait Ruler and the rest of his team out of position by my unbelievably aggressive portal jump. And it ends up working out because they couldn't click on Fate again, as they're going to try to defend here. Not sure it's going to work.
Yeah, well, that's Clid just trying to clear out the minions, but that's not going to do it because those turrets died in about 3.5 seconds. That's game over. SANDBOX take game 1, and Gen.G, remember, they were 1 game score point ahead of T1. They needed all the 2-0s they could get, and now they may not even win the series.
I mean, if we have another game go that way, then certainly, right, as I think the more reliable composition coming out of SANDBOX there, and unfortunately, Gen.G made one too many mistakes, that one little throw in the mid lane, as we'll probably get another look at that team fight, but people were just diving way too deep there. They weren't able to get onto the Caitlyn, as Fate was even able to survive after all of that, so Ruler, you can see he's sweating. That was a really difficult workout for him to try to put the team on his back. That unfortunately failed.
Yeah.
But,
it's also really hot in here.
We can't really blame Ruler for that.
Yeah, yeah, not really.
It was more of a compositional issue.
I think it was a lot to do with the gameplay as well, right? Like, the Pantheon Nidalee should have been able to dominate that early game. They tried to get into the jungle and affect things, but they were never able to create more than like a, 2,000 gold lead or something like that, as you can see.
Yeah, later on in the game.
Exactly, and it was SANDBOX that were in the lead early, able to grab those back-to-back heralds, really denying Gen.G any sort of early game snowball, which we were talking about the entire game. That's what Gen.G needed to try and do. And then we were thinking maybe the insurance policy is going to be this 37k damage Jhin. But Root's showing that he can also be that late game carry, and does manage to get that damage down in the end. I believe that 10k of that damage was done in the last, 10 minutes, the last 5 minutes of the game, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. But you could see the game just totally changed the second the Molten Edge was purchased. It was like, oh, okay, here we go. Caitlyn's online. And the Tahm Kench ended up working out very well. There were a lot of, you were like, cask this, cask that. Everything's going wide, nothing's hitting, and I think the support choice ended up getting a lot more value there for the AD carry in the later stages of the game for the SANDBOX comp. And yeah, it was a bit of comp and gameplay, right? If they were going to go for that aggressive comp, they had to do more, but once we got to the late stage, it was really difficult, and Ruler wasn't able to do it alone.
I also think we may have jinxed life a little bit. I think he party cast 3 times in a row in vital team fights where he really needed to be landing that ability, so a little bit unfortunate for Gen.G, some mechanical mishaps perhaps, as it is the first game of the week, so maybe they'll be able to shake their sillies out and come back with a vengeance in game number 2. Thankfully, it is best of 3, so they do have another chance. We'll see you after the break for another game between SANDBOX and Gen.G.
때 보는 거면 나 유령물 좀 사올게. 100원 남았어.
미드 한번 하고 미드 한번 하고.
여기. 아 갔다 이거 갔다.
붙어봐. 잠깐만 살아봐. 야 KT 나이스.
들어보자. 내가 오까 캐쳐 진지 못 봐? 진 못 봐? 진 볼게.
위에 봐줘야 돼. 위에.
뒤에 얘들아
난 없어 난
진 봐야 돼. 진 봐야 돼.
뒤에
진 봐봐.
봐야 돼. 지금 봐야 돼.
너네 가봐.
내가 어그로
맞게
끌고
맞게.
있어. 내가 어그로 끌고 있어.
너네 가봐. 넥서스 가봐.
아니야 나 괜찮아.
잡고
이거 잡고 가야 돼. 나 라인 끌고 갈게. 케이틀린만 조심. 나
라인
또 가야 돼.
라인 끝다.
나 그럼 시간 많이 남았어. 천천히. 이걸로 끌고 와.
가자.
이겼다.
아니야 아직 끝난 거 아니야. 집중해봐 아직.
그라만 나온다.
이거 탱커 앞에 가서
내가 못 뺄게.
낙산 노플이어서
야, 나도 그렇고 너도 그렇고 로스 당첨 겁나 된다.
아,
벨라리다. 일단 가자. 일단 멘트 가자.
아 근데 우리 잘한 것도 와.
10초.
다음 판 좀만 아쉬운 것만.
뭔데 저
야 이거 그라가스가
내가
던질 거거든. 그라가스가 던질 거거든.
클리어.
나 그라스 앞으로 벤치게. 그라스 벤치 있었다.
수면 맞춰.
야, 탱크.
타.
오케이 위에.
기다려 여기.
잡아.
넥서스.
아 나이스.
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 이런 거 죽이든가.